The roar of the crowd hit me like a freight train as I stumbled backward, my backpack spilling textbooks across the locker room floor. "Faggot," Jake Harlan spat, his voice a venomous whisper that echoed off the cold metal lockers, his massive frame towering over me like a storm cloud ready to unleash hell. In that split second, as his fist clenched and the world narrowed to the glint of rage in his eyes, I realized this wasn't just another shove. This was the day my secret world shattered, and everything I thought I knew about survival in Elmwood High would burn to the ground. I wasn't always the kid who hid in the shadows of the science lab, sketching molecular structures to escape the hallways that felt like minefields. Growing up in Elmwood, Ohio, a sleepy Rust Belt town where Friday nights meant football under the floodlights and Sunday mornings meant church potlucks, I'd learned early to blend in. My name's Alex Rivera, and at 17, I was the scrawny junior with wire-rimmed glasses, a faded Nirvana t-shirt, and a backpack stuffed with dog-eared sci-fi novels. My parents ran the local diner, the kind with checkered floors and endless coffee refills, and they raised me to believe in hard work and quiet dreams. But dreams? Mine were the kind you whispered to yourself at night, locked in your bedroom, heart pounding as you imagined a life where holding hands didn't mean hiding. Started in freshman year, that gnawing ache I couldn't name. I'd catch myself staring at the curve of a guy's jawline in the cafeteria line, or the way sunlight hit the quarterback's hair during PE. By sophomore year, I knew I was gay. In Elmwood, that was a confession heavier than any sin the pastor droned on about. So I buried it deep, volunteering for the debate team, acing AP biology, anything to build walls high enough to keep the world out. But walls crumble, especially when a guy like Jake Harlan patrols the corridors like he's the sheriff of straight. Jake was everything I wasn't. 6'2", broad-shouldered, with sun-bleached hair and a smile that could charm the lunch lady into extra fries. Captain of the football team, homecoming king in waiting, the golden boy of Elmwood High. He moved through life like he owned it, flanked by his crew of linebackers who laughed at his every joke. To them, I was invisible until I wasn't. It was a Tuesday in October, leaves crunching underfoot like brittle bones, when he first noticed me. I'd been late to chem lab, rushing past the gym, and my shoulder clipped his duffel bag. Books flew. Apologies tumbled from my mouth. He just stared, those piercing blue eyes narrowing, and muttered, "Watch it, freak." That was it, the spark. From there, it escalated like a bad dream you can't wake from. Shoves in the hall became trips in the cafeteria. My locker mysteriously jammed with what smelled like gym socks soaked in Axe body spray. Whispers followed me. "Rivera's got that look, you know?" Jake orchestrated it all with a lazy grin, like bullying was just another play from the playbook. Why me? I obsessed over it during late-night shifts at the diner, wiping counters while Mom hummed oldies on the jukebox. Was it my glasses? My refusal to join the pep rallies? Or had he sensed it? The secret I guarded fiercer than my report card? I told myself it was random cruelty, the kind that thrived in small towns where conformity was king. But deep down, I wondered if he saw the truth in my eyes, the fear I couldn't mask. That day in the locker room, though, it boiled over. Practice had just ended, the air thick with sweat and the sharp tang of turf. I'd snuck in to grab my forgotten notebook from the lost and found. Stupid mistake, the team's sacred ground. Jake burst through the doors, towel slung over his shoulder, still buzzing from a killer scrimmage. His buddies had peeled off for the parking lot, leaving him alone, or so I thought. "Rivera," he growled, spotting me crouched by the benches. "What the hell are you doing in here? This ain't your turf." I froze, heart slamming against my ribs. "Just grabbing something. I'll go." But my voice cracked, and that was blood in the water. He advanced, slow and deliberate, like a lion toying with prey. "You think you can just waltz in? Like you belong?" His words dripped with something darker than disdain. Confusion, maybe, or his own buried storm. Before I could bolt, he grabbed my collar, yanking me up. The shove came hard, sending me sprawling. That's when it happened. My phone tumbled out, screen lighting up with a text from my one confidant, Mia from Debate Club. "Missed you at the meeting. Remember, you're brave AF. Love ya, queerdo." The words glowed like a neon sign in the dim light. Time stopped. Jake's eyes locked on the screen, then flicked to me. The slur hit like a slap, raw and intimate. His fist rose, and I braced for the impact that would finally break me. But then nothing. His arm trembled, veins bulging, but it didn't fall. Instead, he released me like I'd burned him, staggering back. What the fuck is this? His voice wasn't angry anymore. It was wrecked, like he'd seen a ghost. I scrambled up, snatching my phone, tears blurring my vision. It's me, okay? It's who I am. The admission clawed out of me, desperate and defiant. I expected laughter, more venom. Instead, he just stood there, chest heaving, face paling under the fluorescent buzz. Get out, he whispered finally, turning away. I fled, the door slamming behind me like a guillotine. Outside, the autumn air bit cold, but it couldn't touch the fire raging in my chest. I'd outed myself to my tormentor. Elmwood High would swallow me whole by morning, or so I thought. The next day dragged like a funeral march. I skipped first period, hiding in the library's back stacks, thumbing through the perks of being a wallflower for solace. Mia found me at lunch, her dark curls bouncing as she slid into the booth. Dude, you look like you saw a unicorn. Spill. She's the only one who knew my anchor in the storm. Over greasy tater tots, I confessed the locker room fiasco, words tumbling like dominoes. Her eyes widened, then softened. Jake Harlan? The Jake Harlan? Oh honey, that's intense. But hey, maybe it's a sign. Universe works in weird ways. Weird ways. Yeah, right. By afternoon, rumors swirled like smoke. Rivera got caught stealing jock straps. Lame, but it stung. I kept my head down in English, doodling chemical bonds in my notebook. Then, as the bell rang, a shadow fell over my desk. Jake. Alone. No posse, no smirk. Just him, shifting awkwardly, like a bull in a china shop. Rivera. We gotta talk. My stomach flipped. The classroom emptied. I stayed glued to my seat. About what? How you're gonna make my life hell now? He winced, rubbing the back of his neck. A gesture so boyish it threw me. Not that. Look, yesterday. I didn't mean. He cut off, glancing at the door like escape was an option. Shit, this is messed up. Meet me after school. Behind the bleachers. No one's there. It was a trap, had to be. But curiosity, that treacherous beast, won. Why should I? He met my gaze, blue eyes stormy. Because I get it now. And I'm sorry. Sorry? From Jake Harlan? The word hung absurd in the air. I nodded, numb, and watched him bolt like the weight of it crushed him. The rest of the day blurred. Biolab where I mixed solutions on autopilot, gym where I faked a stomachache to avoid the showers. At 3:15, I slipped out the side exit, heart hammering as I wove through the chain link maze to the football field's underbelly. The bleachers loomed like a rusted skeleton, weeds poking through cracked concrete. He was there, leaning against a support beam, tossing a football hand to hand. Vulnerable. Human. You came, he said, surprise flickering. I crossed my arms, barrier up. Don't make me regret it. He sighed, deflating. I was an asshole. To you, to everyone. It's this pressure. Dad's the coach, expects perfection. Team's my life, but it's like I'm performing 24/7. The confession spilled out, raw edges showing. His old man, Big Harlan, was Elmwood legend, state champ in '95, now molding sons in his image. Jake's voice cracked. Saw that text. Made me think. About stuff I've buried. My cousin, he was like you. Came out last year. Family disowned him. I laughed along, but it gutted me. Empathy? From the bully? I searched his face for lies, found none. So what now? You stop shoving me? He stepped closer. Not threatening, just close enough I caught his scent. Soap and grass. More than that. I want to help, make it right. But you gotta trust me. Trust. The word tasted like ash. Yet in his eyes, I saw a mirror of my own fear. The boy behind the jock, cracking under the facade. Over the next weeks, It was like walking a tightrope over an abyss. Jake kept his word, mostly. No more shoves. Instead, subtle shields. When his buddy's cat called me in the hall, he'd bark, "Knock it off, idiots," with a laugh that masked the edge. Whispers died down, replaced by wary glances. We'd meet after school, brief, charged encounters under the bleachers. At first, it was apologies, stories traded like contraband. He confessed the isolation of stardom. Girls throwing themselves at him while he faked interest. Nights staring at ceilings wondering why affection felt like a script. I shared fragments. My crush on Ryan Gosling in The Notebook. The terror of family dinners where dad joked about real men. Laughter crept in, tentative, warming the chill. One crisp November evening, frost glazing the field, we lingered longer. He'd aced a physics test, my doing, after he'd sheepishly asked for tutoring. "You're a genius, Rivera," he said, grinning that megawatt smile. "Alex," I corrected silently. The air hummed with unspoken things. As dusk fell, painting the sky bruise purple, he tossed the football my way. "Catch." I fumbled it, laughing as it rolled into the dirt. He jogged over, close, too close, his hand brushing mine to steady it. Electricity sparked, undeniable. Our eyes locked, breaths mingling in the cold. For a heartbeat, the world held possibility, fragile as new ice. But Elmwood doesn't do fragile. The betrayal came swift, a knife in the ribs. It was 2 days before Thanksgiving break. The team hyped for playoffs. I just finished a shift at the diner, grease clinging to my skin, when Mia texted, "Emergency. Locker room. Now." Dread pooled in my gut as I biked over, chaining up in the dark lot. Voices echoed from inside, raucous, male. I pushed the door, and there it was. The team in a circle, Jake at the center, phone in hand. My phone. The one I'd dropped weeks ago. Screen cracked but texts intact. He was reading them aloud, voice booming for laughs. "Love ya, queerdo. Oh man, Rivera's got a fan club." Laughter erupted, cruel and thunderous. My knees buckled. The room spun. He'd kept it? All those bleacher talks, the brushes of hands, lies? I staggered forward. "Jake!" He turned, face draining of color. "Alex, wait. It's not." But the damage was done. His buddies howled, one mimicking a limp wrist. I snatched the phone, tears hot, and ran. Outside, I retched into the bushes, betrayal a poison twisting deep. How could I be so stupid? The ally act, the vulnerability, it was all a game, a Jock's prank to out the freak. I ghosted everyone for break. Curled in my room, curtains drawn, I replayed it. The softness in his eyes, the almost kiss that never was. Mom knocked with pie. Dad with worried grunts about toughening up. Mia called, furious on my behalf. "He's trash, Alex. Block him." But blocking hurt worse. By Monday, I armored up, head high, ignoring the stares. Jake tried cornering me at lunch, eyes pleading. "It wasn't like that. They found it in my bag. Swear." I shoved past. "Save it for your next victim." Playoffs loomed. Elmwood's big shot at glory. The town buzzed. Banners on Main Street, diner packed with Booster Club chatter. I avoided the games, burying in books. But fate, that cruel puppeteer, pulled strings. Debate regionals overlapped with semis. Same weekend, rival schools. Mia dragged me. "Show them you're unbreakable." The auditorium thrummed. Rivals from across Ohio filing in. We crushed prelims, my rebuttals sharp as scalpels. Then, finals. Against Crestview, whose team included a smug debater who'd heard the rumors. He struck mid-round, twisting my environmental policy argument into personal distractions. The crowd tittered. I faltered, voice cracking. Mia squeezed my hand under the table. But as I rallied, the doors burst open. Jake, still in his away jersey, mud-streaked from a brutal loss. Elmwood out in quarters. He scanned the room, locked on me, and marched down the aisle like a man possessed. "Alex," he called, loud enough to halt the judge's gavel. Gasps rippled. "This guy's a hero. Saved our chem grades, tutors like a boss. And yeah, he's gay. So what? He's braver than any of us. Chaos erupted, murmurs, flashes from phones. The moderator banged for order. My rival gaped. Jake didn't stop. I bullied him. Me. Because I was scared. Scared of this. He gestured between us, voice breaking. Of feeling something real in a town that chews up different. Security edged in, but I stood, heart thundering. Jake, what are you doing? He faced me, raw. Owning it. For you. For me. That phone? I kept it as proof to remind myself not to run. When they found it, I froze. Biggest regret of my life. The room held its breath. My rival conceded. We won by default, but victory tasted bittersweet. Later, in the emptying hall, Jake waited, deflated. Go ahead, hate me. I deserve it. I studied him. The boy who'd shattered me, now piecing himself back. Why now? He swallowed. Because losing the game? Nothing compared to losing you. Not as a tutor or whatever this is. Whatever this is. The words hung, pregnant with unspoken longing. Winter thawed into tentative spring. Elmwood's fields greening like hope. Jake and I rebuilt brick by fragile brick. No grand gestures, just quiet coffees at the diner after my shifts. Him nursing black like dad. Me stirring sugar endlessly. We talked everything. His cousin's reconciliation over Christmas, my dreams of MIT and escaping the rust. Laughter returned, deeper now, laced with touches. A knee bump under the table, fingers lingering on a shared menu. Romance bloomed slow, like Midwest crocuses pushing through snow. A stolen glance during his track meets, where I'd cheer from the stands, no longer hiding. A midnight drive to the quarry, stars blanketing us as we confessed fears in whispers. But climax brewed, as it must in stories like ours. Prom loomed, Elmwood's glittery pinnacle of normalcy. Jake asked me. In the bleachers, football forgotten, his hand trembling as it covered mine. Go with me? You know, my yes was a leap, terrifying and true. Whispers reignited. Harlan's taking the fag. His dad confronted him over dinner. Yelled about legacy, disappointment. Jake walked out, crashing at Mia's. She thawed, grudgingly. I'm done pretending. He told me later, voice fierce. For us. Prom night shimmered under chandeliers in the gym, balloons bobbing like dreams. We arrived arm in arm, me in a rented tux that fit awkward, him starched and shining. Heads turned. Phones clicked. His crew hovered, uneasy, but Jake's glare held them back. We danced. Clumsy at first, then fluid, his hand warm on my waist, my head on his shoulder. The slow song swelled. Wonderwall, ironic and perfect. I trust you, I murmured, and he pulled back, eyes shining. Earned it. The crash came at midnight, as Cinderella's clock struck. Big Harlan stormed the gym, face thunderous, flanked by boosters. James Harlan outside. Now. Jake, James to family, stiffened. Dad not here. But the man grabbed his arm, dragging. I followed, pulse roaring, into the parking lot where taillights glowed like accusatory eyes. This ends, Harlan Sr. bellowed. Parading with him? In my town. Spit flew. Jake wrenched free. Your town? It's ours. And Alex? He's more man than you've ever taught me to be. Fists clenched, his dad's, not Jake's. A swing connected, wild, glancing Jake's jaw. I surged forward. Stop! Voice small but steel. The crowd spilled out, phones capturing the unraveling. Mia yelled for security. Teachers intervened. Jake wiped blood, defiant. I'm gay, Dad. Or bi, whatever. But I'm done with your playbook. The words landed like grenades. Harlan Sr. reeled, face crumpling. Not rage, but grief. Son. In the aftermath, fractures mended crooked but strong. Jake moved in with his aunt, the one who'd embraced his cousin. Big Harlan attended PFLAG meetings, awkward in khakis, thawing slow. Looking back from our shared apartment in Columbus, posters of galaxies on walls, his football helmet repurposed as a laundry basket, That locker room shove feels like a lifetime ago. Betrayal forged us, trust tempered the blade. Jake's my ally, my love, my mirror. Proof that even in America's heartland, where conformity clings like humidity, two boys can rewrite the rules. Humanism isn't grand speeches. It's choosing each other, day by bloody day. And in that choice we found home. Summer after senior year hit Elmwood like a heat wave, sticky and unrelenting, turning the Ohio River into a hazy mirror. Jake and I stole moments where we could. Dawn runs along the towpath, where mist clung to our skin like secrets, or lazy afternoons at the quarry, skipping stones while he teased my terrible aim. You're a scientist, not a quarterback. He'd laugh, slinging an arm around my shoulders, pulling me close enough to feel his heartbeat sync with mine. Those days were our education in vulnerability, lessons learned in whispers and tentative kisses that tasted of cherry coke and possibility. But Elmwood's undercurrents ran deep, and not everyone was ready for our story. The town that had birthed us, with its brick Main Street lined with flag-draped shops and the annual Apple Festival where we'd once hidden behind hay bales to hold hands, now dissected us over pie at the diner. Mom, ever the peacemaker, fielded questions with a tight smile. Boys will be boys, right? Dad grunted less, his way of evolving, but I caught him eyeing Jake's truck in the lot, weighing legacies. Jake's aunt, Lena, became our rock, fierce, with a laugh like gravel and hugs that smelled of lavender soap. She'd lost her brother to the bottle young, raised Jake's cousin solo after the family fallout. Love's the only fight worth picking, she'd say, sliding us extra bacon at breakfast. College loomed like a beacon, but bridges needed crossing first. Jake's dad, still raw from prom, reached out via text, stilted, apologetic. Coffee, neutral ground. We met at the Riverfront Cafe, American flags snapping in the breeze, Jake fidgeting with his napkin like it held state secrets. Big Harlan arrived in his coaching polo, silver threading his hair, eyes shadowed. James, he started, voice gruff. Jake corrected, soft. Jake, Dad. And it's us now. The man nodded, swallowing pride. I was wrong. Raised you to win, not live. Seeing you stand up. Proud of that. It wasn't absolution, but a start, human, messy, real. Jake's hand found mine under the table, squeezing. Forgiveness isn't fireworks. It's this, quiet and earned. As August burned toward September, we packed my dorm boxes in the garage, vinyl records stacked beside his cleats. Mia helped, blasting Hamilton for irony, her new boyfriend, a lanky artist from art club, hauling amps with good-natured grumbles. You two are disgustingly cute, she declared, tossing packing peanuts. Jake winked at me over a lamp. Jealous. Laughter filled the space, but under it, ache throbbed. Distance. 60 miles to Columbus, drivable but daunting. Weekends, we vowed, sealing it with a kiss that lingered, promising. Drop-off day, Ohio State's campus buzzed with freshman frenzy. Dorms thumping bass, parents snapping pics like paparazzi. I hugged Mom tight, her eyes misty. Dad clapped my back, whispering, "Make us proud, kid." Jake lingered last, our goodbye a stolen moment in the parking garage, his truck idling. Call every night? He murmured, forehead to mine. Text every hour. We kissed slow, world fading, until honks intruded. He drove off, taillights fading like a bruise. College hit like a Category 5. Lectures on quantum mechanics that sang to my soul, late nights in the chem lab coaxing reactions from beakers. But loneliness crept in, a shadow in the single. I'd scroll Jake's Insta, him at practice, mud-caked grin, missing the weight of him beside me. Our calls stretched. His rants on anatomy class, my awe at stargazing clubs. Miss your nerd voice, he'd say, voice low, making me blush into my pillow. Visits bridged gaps. Him crashing my dorm with pizza, us wandering the oval hand in hand, autumn leaves crunching underfoot. Buckeye fans stared sometimes, but Columbus breathed freer. Rainbow flags on frat houses, queer mixers where we danced unapologetic. Yet conflict simmered, old wounds reopening. Winter quarter, Jake's team made nationals, community college powerhouses, underdogs with bite. I drove down for the finals, snow dusting the highway like powdered sugar. The arena pulsed. Cheers, stomps, the scent of popcorn and sweat. Elmwood alums dotted the stands, including his dad, who nodded at me. Progress. Halftime, score tied, Jake shone. A touchdown pass threading defenders like poetry. Pride swelled, but then a hit. Brutal, helmet to helmet, crumpling him to turf. The crowd gasped. I surged forward, blocked by rails. Medics swarmed. He waved them off, staggering up, but his eyes, dazed, unfocused, chilled me. Post-game win, miraculous on sheer will. I found him in the locker room, ice packed to ribs, face ashen. "Babe," I breathed, dropping beside him. He pulled me in, wincing. "Just bruised. Tough as nails, right?" But later, in his cramped apartment, vulnerability cracked. "Scared me, Alex. What if I can't play?" Dad's voice in my head. "Weakness loses games." I held him, tracing scars from old tackles. "You're more than the field." To me, anyway. That night, we talked till dawn. Dreams beyond sports, like opening a youth center for at-risk kids, blending his passion with my science. Trust deepened, roots intertwining. Spring brought renewal, but betrayal's echo lingered in new forms. A teammate, Brody, Jake's old roommate, all swagger and suspicion, started rumors on campus. Harlan's playing both sides for sympathy. It spread like flu. Whispers in the weight room, side eyes at parties. Jake confronted him after drills, fists balled. "Say it to my face, asshole." Brody sneered. "Just saying. You and that lab rat? Convenient timing." The shove came from Brody, but Jake held back, jaw set. "We're done. Find new digs." Alone that night, he called me voice hollow. "Hate this shit. Makes me question us." I drove through rain-slicked roads, arriving to find him on the fire escape, staring at city lights. "Hey," I said, climbing up, wrapping my hoodie around him. "Questioning's okay, but we're real." We sat, knees touching, rain pattering like confessions. He admitted the fear, small-town baggage, the pull to fit back in. "Love you," he said finally, the words a dam breaking. Scary as hell. I kissed his temple. "Me too. But we're allies, remember?" Laughter bubbled, fragile but true. Summer returned to Elmwood tested us anew. The apple festival bloomed, orchards heavy with fruit, fairgrounds alive with Ferris wheels and funnel cake. We volunteered at the booth, Jake flipping cider donuts, me manning the science demo with dry ice fog. Kids flocked, wide-eyed. One boy, maybe 10, tugged my sleeve. "Are you, like, gay like on TV?" His mom flushed, but Jake knelt, easy grin. "Yup, and it's awesome. Means you love who you love, big heart and all." The kid beamed. The mom thawed, buying extra jars. Moments like that, human, connective, reminded us why we fought. But climax crested on the 4th. Town picnic, fireworks over the river, families sprawled on blankets. Big Harlan invited us. A olive branch wrapped in potato salad. We sat tentative, Jake's hand in mine under the quilt. Conversation flowed awkward. Crops, weather, until a neighbor, red-faced from beer, slurred. "Heard you boys are, special friends." "That right." Silence fell, heavy as humidity. Jake tensed. I braced. But his dad spoke first, voice steady. "Damn right. My son's happy. That's what matters." The man blinked, defused. Cheers for the sky-bursting finale drowned the rest. As stars wheeled overhead, Jake whispered, "We're building something, Alex. Unbreakable." I nodded, heart full. Yet humanism whispers. Endings aren't tidy. Fall semester, I landed an internship at a Cleveland lab, nanotech, dream stuff, but it meant longer drives, strained calls. Jake's coaching certs piled up, practices bleeding into nights. Distance frayed edges. Missed anniversaries, arguments over nothing. "Why didn't you text back?" Trust wobbled, but we leaned in, therapy apps and date night salvaging. By junior year, we'd carved equilibrium. Weekend escapes to Hocking Hills, hiking trails where we'd collapse laughing, tangled in sleeping bags under pines. Romance matured. Less fireworks, more hearth. Him memorizing my favorite constellations, me taping his sprained ankle with gentle precision. Betrayal's scar faded to silver, a reminder of resilience. Graduation neared, futures converging. I aced med school apps, he scouted jobs at urban rec centers. Elmwood visits home anchored us. Dinners with parents who now swapped gay pride pins like recipes. Mia's wedding where we toasted as best men. Our story, not fairy tale, but testament. From bully's fist to ally's hand, trust woven from threads of pain and grace. In America's vast tapestry, we were one bright stitch, flawed, fierce, forever teamed. Med school acceptance letters arrived like thunderclaps in April. Mine sealed with a Johns Hopkins envelope. Baltimore, a world away from Ohio's flatlands. Jake's came too. Head coach at a Pittsburgh youth league, bridging our paths halfway. We celebrated on the Scioto River banks, picnic of subs and stolen beers, the water glittering like shattered promises kept. To us, he toasted, clinking bottles, his free hand tracing my knuckles. But under the joy, anxiety churned. Cross-state romance, post-grad uncertainties. We'll make it work, I said, more prayer than pledge. He pulled me close, lips brushing my ear. Like always, partner. Packing ensued. A whirlwind of bubble wrap and bittersweet goodbyes. Mom cried into my shoulder at the diner, Dad pressing a checkered thermos. For late nights, son. Mia threw a send-off bash in her garage studio. Fairy lights strung like fireflies. Playlist heavy on the Killers for that anthemic ache. Jake danced with me slow in the corner, oblivious to eyes, his whisper hot. First of many lasts. We drove separate, me east to Baltimore's brick rows and harbor winds. Him north to Pittsburgh's steel ghosts and inclines. But synced our first night calls, voices bridging miles like invisible threads. Hopkins immersed me. Dissections under harsh lights, lectures on synaptic miracles that echoed my old sketches. Nights blurred into study marathons, caffeine my co-pilot. Jake thrived too. Texts buzzing with kid stories. Taught Jamal a spiral today. Little dudes got arm like Brady. Pride swelled, but voids grew. Visits pieced the puzzle. Train rides to Pittsburgh, where he'd meet me at Union Station, backpack slung, grin splitting his face. We'd hike Mount Washington, overlooking rivers merging like our lives, or crash his tiny apartment, cooking spaghetti that always burned, laughing through smoke alarms. Conflict ignited subtly, a spark in dry tinder. Fall semester, a classmate, Ethan, sharp-jawed and disarmingly kind, bonded over lab benches. Shared shifts turned to coffees, debates on neuroethics spilling into evenings. Innocent, but Jake's text sharpened. Who's this Ethan guy liking all your posts? Insecurity, born of distance. I reassured, just a friend, babe. You're my everything. But doubt festered. His end. A volunteer mom at the league, flirty and persistent, cornering him at fundraisers. Single coach? Scandalous. She'd purr. He shut it down, but guilt gnawed. What if I'm not enough? Thanksgiving pulled us home to Elmwood, a neutral zone. The diner overflowed. Turkey carved with Dad's steady hand. Lena's cornbread steaming. Big Harlan joined, conversation veering to pride plans. Town float this year? His contribution a rainbow-painted toolbox. Around the table we held hands under linen, anchors in the storm. But post-feast, alone in my old room, tension surfaced. Ethan's gala invite, I mentioned offhand. Jake's fork paused. Gala? As dates. Misread, but the hurt landed. No. Group thing. Voices rose. Accusations of neglect. Miles as metaphors for drifting hearts. We're allies, remember? Pleaded. He deflated. Trying Alex. But it feels like we're playing phone tag with our lives. We slept back to back, cold sheets a chasm. Morning brought coffee and apologies, raw as peeled apples. Scared of losing you to that big world, he admitted, eyes down. I cupped his face. You're my world. recommitment, scheduled FaceTimes, care packages, his mixtapes of Springsteen for grit, my journals of hypotheticals for dreams. Human connection, fragile art. Winter holidays tested resolve. Baltimore's snow-dusted Federal Hill. I invited Jake for New Year's, harbor fireworks our backdrop. He arrived train-weary, but his hug melted reservations. We wandered Inner Harbor, hands gloved and linked, Fells Point pubs alive with jazz. This city's got soul, he said, spinning me under street lamps. Eve's countdown, we kissed amid confetti. Resolutions whispered. More us, less fear. But betrayal's ghost stirred. A Hopkins party, Ethan drunk and confessional. Always had a crush, Alex. If things change. I shut it down gentle but screenshot sent to Jake, transparency my shield. His reply, proud of you. Love wins. Spring thawed doubts, but climax brewed in summer's heat. Jake's league hosted a tournament, Pittsburgh Pride Cup. Inner-city kids from all walks, rainbows on banners. I drove down, lab coat swapped for team jersey. The fields teamed. Tiny athletes dashing, parents cheering diverse. Jake coached fierce, whistle shrill, but mid-final, a brawl erupted. Rival dad shoving a ref over a call, escalating to threats. Chaos. Kids crying, security scrambling. Jake waded in, voice booming calm. Hey, this is about them. Cool it. The man swung. Jake dodged, but took an elbow to the gut. I rushed the sidelines, med kit from my trunk, basic first aid, but enough. Breathe, I coached, pressing ice to his side. Our eyes locking amid the din. Got you. The moment crystallized. Us, teamed against the fray. Tournament saved. Kids hugging Jake teary-eyed. Later, bonfire crackling, one boy, timid with braids, approached. Coach, I'm like you and Alex. Scared to tell mom. Jake knelt, me beside. Brave starts small. We're here. The kid's smile lit the night, humanistic spark. Yet personal storm hit fall. My residency match, trauma surgery in Philly, Jake's expansion to a Philly branch. Elation tangled with terror. Closer. We celebrated over Zoom, but subtext screamed. What if? His dad, wiser now, called, fight for it, son. Like you did for him. Encouragement, hard won. Climax crested Thanksgiving again. Elmwood's hearth. Driving separate, storms hit. Mine a fender bender on I-70, his a flat in the Alleghenies. Rattled. We converged at the diner. Reuniting in a booth slick with rain. Too close, he breathed, pulling me across vinyl. Over pie, we unpacked. Fears of fragility, dreams diverging. Marry me? He blurted. Ring box from his pocket. Simple band. Engraved allies forever. Tears mixed with crust crumbs. Yes, God, yes. Wedding planning wove U.S. tighter. Small affair, riverbank vows under oaks. Mia officiated, grinning. Parents teary. Big Harlan walked Jake. Voice thick. Proud boy. Rings exchanged. Promises sealed. Through betrayals and touchdowns, you're my trust. Dance floor sway to Lucky by Jason Mraz, world fading. Years blurred. Philly life, my ER shifts saving lives, his center mentoring hundreds. Queer kids finding fields and families. Elmwood visits, now legends. Those Harlan Rivera boys changed everything. Betrayal's memory, a tattoo, faint but defining. Our story, dramatic, laced with suspense, rich in emotion. Ends not in tragedy, but quiet triumph. Love as ally, trust as home. In America's beating heart, we proved. From bullies to beloveds, humanity wins. Philly's rhythm claimed us like an old friend. Cobbled streets humming with septa clatter. Cheesesteaks steaming on corners where we'd steal bites between shifts. Our row house in Fishtown, with its creaky stairs and bay window overlooking the Delaware, became sanctuary. Mornings tangled in flannel sheets, Jake's coffee brewing as I reviewed charts. Marriage wasn't fireworks but foundation. Chores divvied fair, arguments aired over takeout lo mein. We're a team, he'd say, bumping my hip at the sink, suds flying like playful accusations. Workdays diverged but converged in stories swapped at dusk. My are tales of stitched wounds and whispered thanks, his of pint-sized MVPs conquering fears. One evening, post a grueling double, I collapsed on the couch. Jake knelt, unlacing my sneakers with Masu's hands. "Hero," he murmured, kissing my instep. Romance simmered domestic. Notes in lunch bags. Don't dissect the sandwich. Date nights at the Kimmel Center. His head on my shoulder during Rent revivals. Intimacy deepened. Emotional cartography. Tracing stretch marks from his playing days. Me sharing residency scars, literal and not. But life's drama doesn't retire. It evolves. Year 2, Jake's center expanded. Philly Pride Youth, grant-funded, pulling kids from shelters and suburbs. Success bred scrutiny. A board member, conservative donor with ties to old money, questioned agenda. Footballs for building character, not lifestyles. He sniffed at a meeting. Jake, ever the diplomat, pushed back. Characters inclusive. These kids need us, all of us. The clash escalated to emails, then a leaked recording. Donor calling Jake, that agenda pusher. Backlash hit. Enrollment dipped, whispers in the community. I came home to him pacing the kitchen. Phone clutched like a grenade. They're pulling funding unless I tone it down. Rage simmered in his eyes, blue as storm-tossed seas. We talked till midnight, pros cons on the fridge whiteboard. Fight or fold. This is our legacy, I said, circling teamwork. He nodded, resolve hardening. Public stand. Op-ed in the Inquirer, Jake's words raw from bullied to builder. Why sports must embrace all. It went viral, shares from GLAAD to ESPN, donors flooding in. The board buckled. The donor resigned. Victory tasted sweet, but exhaustion lingered. Nights where he'd wake sweating. Betrayals echo in dreams of locker rooms past. My world tilted too. A patient, young trans kid from South Philly, gunshot victim in my trauma bay. Stabilized him through the night, tubes and monitors beeping like accusations. Dawn, as he stirred, he gripped my hand. Thanks, Doc. Thought I was done. Jake met me after, hugging fierce in the parking garage. Saved a life today. But the weight pressed, systemic failures, endless cycles. We volunteered together at the center, me running health workshops, him coaching resilience drills. One session that kid showed, now mentee high-fiving Jake. Full circle, humanistic loop. Suspense threaded summer. Family reunion in Elmwood. Annual Harlan Rivera bash evolving into town tradition. Banners fluttered. Ally Fest. Kids' games mingling with queer story hours. Big Harlan grilled, apron smeared, bantering with mom over pie recipes. But tension crackled. A cousin, Jake's, fresh from military discharge, cornered him by the fire pit. Heard about your lifestyle program. Weakens the boys. Old venom, family fracture reopening. Jake's jaw set. Weak, its strength. Like enlisting, facing fears head-on. The cousin scoffed, but dad mine. Chimed in quiet thunder. Son, love don't weaken. It steals. Diffused. But the night ended early. Jake brooding on the drive back. Fall brought betrayal's sharpest twist. Not from foes, but fracture within. A center in turn, Marcus. Charismatic, fresh from college. With eyes that lingered too long on Jake during drills. Harmless flirt, I thought, until a late pickup. Me at the field, seeing them laugh close, Marcus's hand on Jake's arm. Jealousy flared, irrational but incendiary. Home, accusation flew. What's with the touchy-feely? Jake recoiled. Coaching Alex. Trust me. The fight escalated. Past grievances unearthed. Distances old ghosts. You're always the hero. I feel like sidekick, he yelled. Unfair but true. I stormed out, walking schuylkill paths till lungs burned. Regret chasing. Dawn reconciliation. Him on the stoop, coffee steaming, eyes red-rimmed. Sorry. Insecure crap. I sat head on his knee. Me too. We're human, not highlights. Therapy followed, couple sessions in a cozy office, unpacking bully baggage, my perfectionism. Vulnerabilities work, but it bonded us tighter, trust refurbished. Climax surged winter. A center crisis. Funding cut loomed again, economy biting. Jake rallied, gala at the Barns, stars under Monet skies. I emceed, nerves jangling, pitching our vision. Safe spaces, strong futures. Bids poured, but midway, fire alarm wailed. False, but chaos ensued. In the scramble, a kid, our trans patient, now teen advocate, panicked, hyperventilating in the throng. Jake scooped him up, me clearing path to quiet hall. Breathe with me, I coached, hand on chest. Jake hummed a lullaby, off-key but steady. Calm restored. The boy grinned. Teamwork, huh? Gala saved. Funds secured, record hall. Spring bloomed affirmations. Anniversary hike in the Poconos. Cabin nights with s'mores and stargazing. 10 years from that shove. Jake mused, fire crackling. Feels like yesterday. I traced his ring. And forever. Romance reignited. Slow dances in the kitchen to Ed Sheeran. Whispers of adoption dreams. Building family beyond blood. Yet humanism tempers joy with shadow. Summer storm. Big Harlan's heart attack. Sudden as lightning. Elmwood Hospital. Monitors beeping familiar dirge. Jake at bedside, holding gnarled hand. I consulted, professional mask cracking. Tough old bird. The man rasped, eyes on us. You too. Made me better. He rallied, slow rehab with Lena's sass. Visit turned lesson. Forgiveness cycles, generational mends. By fall, equilibrium restored, center thriving. My practice specializing in queer health. Our story, dramatic weave of suspense and sentiment. Arcs toward light. From Ohio fields to Philly hearths. Bully to beloved. Trust's quiet roar. Allies eternal. We navigate. Hand in hand. America's promise. Flawed. Fierce. Profoundly ours. Decades mark approached like a milestone mile marker. Our lives a highway paved with detours and vistas. Philly had weathered us. Gray hairs threading Jake's gold. Laugh lines etching my cheeks. But love polished the edges, turning trials to treasures. The center, now Philly Pride Nexus, sprawled across a renovated warehouse. Turf fields, STEM labs, art studios where kids like that long ago boy bloomed unapologetic. Jake directed. Sleeves rolled. Voice carrying over drills. Heart first, hustle second. I'd pop in post-clinic, stethoscope dangling, joining improv games that dissolve stress in giggles. Family expanded tentative. Fostering first, a sibling duo Lila, 12, sharp-tongued with dreams of coding. Marcus, no relation to the intern, 10, soccer mad with trust issues born of foster churn. Home shifted, row house to a Queen Village duplex, backyard for barbecues and stargazing domes. Nights, we'd collapse on the sectional. Kids' laughter echoing from rooms above. Jake's arm heavy across me. We did this, he'd murmur, awe in his voice. Adoption finalized on a crisp October day. Courthouse steps awash in leaves. Papers signed amid tears and cheers. Mia, godmother by choice, snapped pics. Official allies now. But drama's pulse never quiets. It pulses with growth. Lila's school bullying. Slurs scrawled on her locker. Freak family. Mirrored my youth, igniting protective fury. Jake coached her through. Use words as weapons, kiddo. I mediated with the principal, data dumping on inclusivity stats. Resolution came community-wide. A Nexus-led assembly. Jake keynote ing on from field to family. Building bridges. Kids listened. Rapped. Lila stood tall after. Fist bumping her brother. Human win, small-scale revolution. Suspense threaded holidays. Elmwood's Ally Fest. Now regional draw. Tented fields with food trucks and speakers. We headlined, panel on love in the heartland. But storm clouds gathered literal and figurative. Nor'easter warnings blared. Travel snarled. En route, our van hydroplaned on I-76, spinning wild into guardrails. Heart stops. Kids screaming, Jake wrenching will steady. Ditch-bound. Shaken but unscathed. We waded tow, flashlights piercing rain. Close one, I whispered. hand in his slick palm. He nodded, kissing knuckles. Team holds. Back home, betrayal's variant struck subtle. A Nexus board leak. Anonymous email chain. Old donor resurfacing. Accusing mismanagement. Lavish lifestyles. For agenda leads. Lies, but damage viral. Sponsors wavered. Press sniffed. Jake's face at dinner. Ashen. Fork pushed peas like evidence. After all this, rage simmered. I squeezed his thigh under table. We'll fight clean. Investigation cleared us. Audit pristine. But toll lingered. Sleepless nights, Jake pacing, shadows of doubt. What if they win? What message to the kids? Climax crested spring gala. Nexus's biggest yet. Lincoln Center loan for the night. Chandeliers dripping light. I prepped nerves with tea. Jake schmoozed. Charm dialed high. Midway toast. Donor crashed. Suited. Mic grabbed. This organization's a sham. Funds to frivolity. Gasps. Flashes popped. Jake surged stageward. Me flanking. Sir, he said, voice steel calm. Facts over fiction. We've transformed lives. Yours included, if you'd see. Reveal. Donor's son. A Nexus alum. Outed years back. Now thriving advocate. The man faltered, mic trembling. My boy. He spoke of you. Catharsis public. Raw. Embrace on stage. Applause thundering. Funding soared. Story trended. Redemption on the field. Summer healed. Beach weeks in Rehoboth. Rainbow flags snapping. Kids building sandcastles empires. Jake and I walked surf's edge at dawn. Waves lapping ankles. Toes entwined in wet sand. 20 years, he said, since that locker room. I leaned in. Best plot twist. Romance, ever evolving. Sparked anew. Anniversary escape to Napa. Vineyards rolling gold. Tastings dissolving into vineyard picnics. His hand in mine under arbors heavy with promise. Yet bikink life's arc bends toward reflection. Lila's quinceanera. Hybrid code hacathlon. Code for her quince. Drew family full. Mom's tamales. Dad's grill mastery. Big Harlan. Retired. Softer. Toasting to fierce hearts. Marcus scored the winning goal in pickup. Echoing Jake's youth. Toasts turned teary. Mia on friendship's constancy. Lena on chosen kin. Jake pulled me aside, garden shadows. You saved me first, you know? That day you didn't run. I cupped his face, thumbs tracing jaw. We saved each other. Ending nears, but stories like ours loop eternal. No tidy bow, but ongoing narrative. Clinic thrives, my research on trauma-informed care publishing. Ripples in journals. Nexus branches to Cleveland. Full circle. Elmwood visits. Now grandparents in waiting. Lila's college apps buzzing. Remind roots. Betrayal. Distant scar. Testament to healing. Conflict. Catalyst for depth. Emotions. The glue, romantic and raw. In this American odyssey, from Ohio shove to Philly hearth, we've etched humanism's truth. Trust isn't absence of storm, but dancing in rain. Jake, my ally eternal, still tosses that football under bleachers in my dreams. But now I catch it, every time. And in that catch, life's profound gift. Love, unbullied, unbound.